if this works. We should be back. We should be back. Yeah. Okay, stream is live. Let's check if this horrible thing still
So you might have recently heard about this news
Yep, that's
regarding
still working.
Steam
Okay.
and payment processors
I
dictating.
don't know why the microphone is picking up this noise. Why, you stupid piece of garbage. The tech spirits, please? Yes, tech spirits, just please help me. Maybe you have buttons on the headset? I have exactly 0 buttons on my headset, except for an on and off button. Right now.
What sort of content Steam can or cannot sell, which is, first of all, reminiscent to stuff we've
Why? Maybe if I just fixed? No, it's not fixed. It's still coming through.
talked about occurring in Japan, with similarly payment processors going after certain Japanese websites and doing the same thing there, dictating what content they're allowed to have or not have
You don't hear the echo?
on that
Seriously?
website. And so here with Steam, we're essentially seeing the same thing.
Is it fixed, boys? Are we back? Can we finally stream? What did you do? I turned off the audio that the background was capturing, but the background isn't capturing any audio. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. See, Brave. So you see this, like, this whole red setup here? That is the input. It is a blank MP4 with 0 sound. And that was the thing that was enabled. But it doesn't have any sound. So how was this thing picking up my browser sound and routing it into my microphone? What? Huh? Know what happened? No echoey goodies? I don't understand. Like you see this thing playing in the background? The little red thing, you know, with the moving shapes? That's literally what I had enabled. That was the only other thing. And the moment I turned it off, suddenly the echo stopped. But this thing has no audio. Background is also system sound, which includes browser. Yes, I know, but this is a audio source that I added in specifically for this background. So even though, yes, there is background sound, but there's also the background of the stream sound, you know, the overlay. That's what this is. This isn't the desktop background sound. That's a separate thing. I literally have that as a separate audio source, which I always have disabled. I've never turned that on. Because if I do that, then the music gets saved to the VOD, and then Twitch, you know, gets angry. I am so confused. Oh, well, you know what? It's fixed. It's fixed. No questions. Play the video to check. It didn't mute the VOD. What? Play what video? I'm confused. I'm so confused. I'm confusion. The React video? What? How will I check if this thing mutes the VOD? The VOD only happens after I stream. I won't be able to check the VOD. I want to check if you can hear it in VODs and clips. Okay. Well, I'll play a bit, clip it, and then check.
So you might have recently heard about this news regarding Steam and payment processors dictating what sort of content Steam can or cannot sell, which is, first of all, reminiscent to stuff we've talked about occurring in Japan.
Okay. There you go, clip that, check if it pops in. I'll give it a sec for you guys. Hopefully all the issues are solved now, and we do not have to put up with all this BS. Yeah, it's fine, we're good? Okay, thank goodness. We spent an entire hour just on audio issues. Okay. So, TLDR, Steam, new policies. Okay.
With Similarly, payment processors going after certain Japanese websites and
Okay.
doing the same thing there, dictating what content they're allowed to have or not have on that website. And so here with Steam, we're essentially seeing the same thing. The screenshot shows section 15 highlighted, and it reads,
Okay, okay. Oh, he's gonna read it for me, never mind.
content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers,
What?
in particular, certain kinds of adult-only content.
I assume what they mean by this is like, what are those guys called? Visa? Like Visa cards?
With the Reddit user posting this, adding, this is possibly related to PayPal because people in certain regions have not been able to use it to pay on Steam for the past 5 days. Permalink to list of removals from the store requires
MasterCard,
non
anti-goon police. Oh, jeez. I do not want my... Jeez. I do not want those people telling me what I can and cannot buy. That is so stupid. That is so dystopian. Not being able to use your money the way you wish.
limited Steam account to view.
Because
Alright,
a
now
third
let's
party
scroll
said
up and
no.
see the actual title of this post.
This is why cash is king, by the way, boys. Cash is king. Don't tell me otherwise. Cash is king, or something that's completely decentralized like Bitcoin. Yeah, big finance corpos like MasterCard, Visa. I hate big corpo so much. It's not even real.
Sometimes YouTube is a little bit, let's just say, funny with
Haha,
certain
funny.
content at the very beginning, at the very start of a video. And you'll see why I'm mentioning that as we read the title here. So it says, from our Steam 1 day ago, Steam has added a new rule disallowing games that violate the rules and standards set forth by payment processors and card networks or internet network providers. At the same time, many incest-themed games were removed from the store. And
Okay, so I'm gonna assume that a whole bunch of Gooner games were removed, you know, like incest and all other weird degenerate stuff. True, true. Shut the fudge balls up, MasterCard. I want to buy my big booty Futa Avi and you won't stop me. Like, should you be buying Futa incest games? Morally speaking, no. But I don't think it should be up to MasterCard or Visa to tell you you can or cannot do such a thing. You know, I don't think such games should be hosted on, you know, a platform. But the real issue is this sets a dangerous precedent for companies determining what you cannot and cannot buy. What if they wake up tomorrow and decide that, I don't know, Metal Gear incest and gray peas, no, well the rest is fine. Yeah. But now the real question is, what if they one day wake up and decide, MasterCard decides, okay, you know what, politics is bad. I'm sorry, you cannot use your hard-earned cash to buy Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Or any sort of other game. You see what I'm saying? Because it goes against their policies or whatever. So you're basically being dictated on what you can and cannot buy by Big Corpo. Sure, people will champion this and say, yeah, you know what, you shouldn't be buying goon or incest games or whatever. But the real question is, you know, is this a slippery slope? When does it end? Because this is actually a stepping stone, if you will. Because if they can do this, what's stopping them from doing to other things? Like, it's one thing if Steam had a policy that said, okay, you shouldn't have, you know, weird incest goon games. Okay, that's fine. But if a third party that basically owns your card says you cannot buy this because we said so, that is completely a different situation because they don't just control your purchase on Steam, it's everywhere else, you know? What if I want to go to Epic Games and buy a Gooner game? Now I can't there too.
And as the top comment here would essentially say,
And, you know, where does it end? Do they start erasing things that are, I don't know, bigotry or political or, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, the issue here is not whether you agree with that sort of content or not. That's not the focus of this video.
Yeah, it's not.
Or this issue at all.
It's the fact that they shouldn't have power over you to dictate what you can and cannot buy. It's one thing, you know, for, you know, a library of games like Steam to say, okay, we don't allow this kind of content, but it's another thing for Visa and MasterCard to dictate that you can and cannot buy stuff.
Of
Yeah, it's been a
course,
big fear
the
since
issue
it gone
is
after
that
trying
these
to get
payment
stuff
processors
from
are apparently
gun shops too. Imagine they decide guns are bad. You can't play Halo, you can't play Killzone, you can't play Apex Legends, you can't even play Fortnite. What's that? Minecraft has bows and arrows? Oh no, you can't play that too.
dictating what platforms like Steam can have on them. You would imagine, you know, Steam would be deciding what Steam wants to have on their website or wants to have for sale. But for some reason, the payment processors are like, nah, actually, we decide what is and is not okay. and you better bend the knee to us. I don't know what would happen if Steam
If I'm not mistaken, you can't play and Valorant exactly. Can you? This is why I hate monopolies or even duopolies, because if you essentially have one company with all the power over a specific niche market, whether it's things like bank cards, they have all of the deciding powers of what you cannot do and what happens in that particular sphere. And as far as I'm aware, Visa and MasterCard don't really have a lot of competition.
rejected this, presumably
Because if they had like 50 other alternatives, Steam could have just said, okay, you know what, too bad, so sad, we'll just swap off to these guys. Or, the customer could have done that as well.
the payment processors might actually say, okay, we're not going to do business on your site anymore. That'd be a pretty bold thing to do, but just the fact that Steam is bending the knee to this sort of thing shows that they clearly are concerned that that's a possibility, that the payment processors would completely stop doing business on Steam and facilitating those transactions. So the top comment says, when I think is debatable what kind of content should be more okay to sell or not. A little broken English there, but I think I get
There's
the point.
Amex and Dynas, but they are
Card companies
expensive
shouldn't be the
fees-wise,
ones who
dead.
decide.
Oof.
The
That
response
sucks.
saying, yep, the way payment processors engage in censorship.
And one thing I hate about PayPal is that they don't even operate in South Africa. All that Twitch money, all that ad revenue. I can't even get it. You have to jump through like 500 different hoops to get money from PayPal into South Africa, mostly because the government sucks.
Like this is
Which is why I like Kick, by the way. They pay straight into your bank account. Absolute based. W Kick Bros.
absolutely unacceptable, and in my opinion, it's
Damn
high time
ditch,
for
yeah.
regulations against that. It isn't their job to regulate what content people are allowed to pay for. It's an insane overreach and abuse of what is practically a monopoly in many cases, especially with
Exactly what I was saying. It's a monopoly and they're abusing their position.
digital purchases where you can't just pay in cash.
Cash is king, boys. If I control society, hell yeah, cash. Cash or completely decentralized currency. Like some sort of a cryptocurrency. Maybe not Bitcoin because of how unstable it is, but some other type of stable coin.
It's kind of dystopian that PayPal and Visa can dictate what content is allowed to be sold on online.
Can you imagine if they decided that their policies are now going vegan? You can no longer buy steak with your MasterCard or Visa? What? What are you going to do?
platforms. And I'm not convinced that politicians are not somehow involved with this, asking for regulations. But what if the people you're trying to get to regulate this are in fact actually supporting this sort of action?
Yeah, what exactly do you as a consumer do if your government is actively trying to lobby against you by putting in business practices and laws that allow or even, support this kind of behavior? What do you do as a consumer? You're basically screwed, right?
I'm just saying. They might think why would a politician care what's on Steam? And that
Crypto
takes me
caught.
to
I'm 100% a crypto bro. I own cryptocurrency. I bought roughly $10 worth of Bitcoin like 5 years ago with the help of Sunset Joker, my mod. And currently I think we're sitting at about $100. It ain't much, but it's like half a salary down here, boys. And I'm going to keep hodling. Maybe if I make a little bit of extra side money on from streaming, we'll put a little bit more in. We'll wait for the dips, put a little bit more in, and we'll hodl until I'm like 30 when I need a serious cash injection.
maybe I'm sounding like a crazy conspiracy theorist here or something, but I don't think the
To
payment
the moon, hell
processors
yeah.
particularly even really care about this stuff that much. Allow me to explain. I think
All right, go on.
going after certain types of R34 content and policing that is more of a test. Maybe they care a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably a test because if they can get away with something that majority of the people don't really care about, like R34 Gooner incest games, that's going to tell them that yes, they have the power to dictate what people can and cannot buy, which then gives them an incentive to dictate what people can and cannot buy with things that they disagree with. I put 900 USD 2 years ago. Guess where it stands? Depends on when you bought it. Because I think like 2 years ago there was a little bit of a crash when it went down, and I think now it's sitting in around between 80 to 100k, so it could have potentially doubled. I don't know what you got, 2 grand? Maybe more? I don't know.
Bit, but I don't think this is like the end all be all. I think this is more of a test.
900 USD? Wait, so you bought it? And then it went upsy downsy, and then present day it returned to the same value. That's kind of funny.
To see how much control they can try to have and what they can get away with. And
At least it's not like $450, you know?
right now, going after certain types of R34 content is basically a test for them to see if they can get platforms to bend the knee. And it's not always about like this incest stuff that's happening on Steam right now. I've seen them previously, according to my recollection, going after a Japanese dating website, for example, saying that they're not going to support it anymore. They're not going to facilitate those transactions. And the website was literally just built for otakus to like find relationships together.
What the hell's a otaku? What's that?
Like it's like a dating platform for otakus. So they go after stuff like that. Then on Steam, they're going after stuff like this. And yeah, I think it's probably all just a test. I think they're going to want
I agree with them. Weebs? Oh, okay.
continue
Taco's
seeing just how
Japanese
much
word for
control
nerd
they can
fan?
have over
Okay, okay.
platforms and people. Right now, that's going after certain types of R34 content and dating sites. But as the years go on, they may continue going after people for anything and platforms for anything. Again, seeing how much they can get away with, and ultimately,
And I wonder just how much political corruption is involved. Like, just imagine a hypothetical scenario where you release a game on Steam that, for some way or the other, criticizes, big corpa, criticizes, you know, how the government's run. And then what you as the government official do, you know, you hand over a couple $100,000 to Visa and MasterCard, and then they no longer support that game on Steam, and people can't buy it. Oh. And nobody would ever know? Hi, hey, Real Noirs! Welcome, welcome, man. How you doing, buddy? We're busy watching and discussing the latest Steam censorship, where Visa and MasterCard, and I think PayPal, are now dictating what can and cannot be bought with your own money. Which again is why I say cash is king, bro. I will continue to have cash for as long as I can. And this is why I love Orania. You know, Orania is like a little, let's say, Afrikaner-only town. Just use gold, bro. There we go, the gold works too. In South Africa. And they have their own currency, by the way. So down here, we have the rand, you know, the ZAR. That's used nationally. And in Orania, they have the aura. Yes, they're aura farming over there. And so it holds a 1-to-1 value with rand. So you can never get confused as to, you know, the value of your aura. And so you'd go there, and it's also worthless outside of Orania, so you can't actually steal it. So if you steal like just 500 auras, they'll just print more because it's tied to the rand and it's actually worthless outside the city because no one else accepts auras. So they literally made a system where they're completely robbing proof only white people. And you know what's funny about that? It's the only city like that in South Africa, and there's no crime. 30 years, no crime. I wonder why. It's not worth stealing? Yep, exactly. And it's also the only place in South Africa, as far as I'm aware, that's on its way to being completely independent from the government in terms of their energy. Because you know the government loves to turn off our energy, just you know, just because they can. Like 12 hours a day, no power. They're building their own like solar panels down there. They're about to be completely off grid. But anyways, as I was saying, what was going to be my point with the whole aura? Oh yeah, you can basically go there and you can buy anything with cash. Absolutely 100% based. You want to buy that car there? Oh, give me your auras.
ultimately, they just want
Although they did make a digital app that allows you to use electronic transactions with the aura. In before they become the new Monte Carlo of Africa. Maybe soon, maybe soon. They've already got a couple of thousand residents and it's growing by like 10 or 15% every year.
to have as much control, as much power.
Like, it's still pretty small, you know, relatively speaking. Like the city where I live, well, the city near where I live is like 1 million people. They only got a couple of thousand. It'll probably grow. It'll probably grow considering just how much, you know, development is going on over there, whereas the rest of the country is going backwards. BRB gonna get Michael Jackson surgery and move there. Unfortunately, that doesn't quite work. Everybody likes to frame Orania as the whites-only town, but that's actually not technically correct. It is an Afrikaner-only town. So if you're a white person from Scotland, from Britain, from Germany, you can't live there. You can visit, but you can't live there. It is culture-specific to Afrikaners. So you have to speak the language. Jy moet Afrikaans praat, you know. As jy kan nie Afrikaans praat nie, dan kan jy nie daar bly nie. Afrikaners, yes. And so you also have to have the same culture, which I believe is the Afrikaans culture. You also have to be, I think, a Reformed Christian as well. So you got to be Baptist, you got to be NG. You got to be based in right wing to live there, boys. Very strict criteria. But anyone can visit, but they are very selective about who they allow to purchase property in there, because that's actually private land.
As they possibly can. Now, originally, I expanded on that point for another like 2 minutes, but I'm actually cutting that out of the video. I don't think it's necessary. I think you all
Sorry, you're not wide enough for us. Ranked racism right there.
clearly see
That's
the point
funny.
that I'm getting at. And let me know if you agree or disagree. Again, maybe this is a crazy conspiracy theory, but I do think that there's more merit to it than not. Let's take a look at some more of the comments here.
Okay.
Kinda sucks that they did this because of card companies and not because of their own wish. Yeah, kinda sucks is an understatement.
Hold up. Visa and MasterCard got into a ton of trouble in Japan, including offices raided by the government, something playing moral crusaders and acting like they're above Japanese law. To me, the above statements use red light. Based Japanese law enforcement right there. You go clap their cheeks, boys. My samurai will get you. You thought you could dominate the world, because of your monopoly? Clearly, you were not prepared for the samurais to come knocking on your door. A Japanese W, by the way.
Statement, but I gotcha. Hope these card/payment companies not get too ahead of themselves after this. Response reading, they always have been ahead of themselves. MasterCard and so on has been known for basically forcing the cancellation of certain
You should, unironically, if you're able to, lobby for your government to make laws stating that payment processors cannot legally deny you any purchase that is legal. So I should probably elaborate on what that means. So, if you want to buy your legally, available Gooner game, you should have the right to do so. Third-party companies should not be able to dictate what you can and cannot buy, unless it is strictly forbidden by your national law. So if Japan happens to ban, Gooner games, okay, fair game, you can't buy it. However, if they allow it, you go ahead and you buy it. Doesn't mean you should, but you should have that freedom of choice.
products like manga. I think it's BS they basically a payment processor has any say in this. That basically a payment processor has any say in this. They shouldn't care about anything other than selling their service. Next response is kind of long. Let's check
There we go, another monopoly.
this out. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll read this one. This is
Don't worry, boys. Orania will rise, and soon we'll make ourselves a new competitor in the payment processor market. And then you all will be free to buy your Gooner games.
pretty interesting.
You want your Fute incest? Go ahead.
MasterCard
I'm
slash
just
Visa,
kidding.
basically a death grip on digital sales monopoly. So it's not even PayPal or Stripe, but MasterCard slash Visa that controls everything. It's also understandably why they're conservative, because they need to play ball with every nation on earth, and that's where the problem really comes from. The UK, Canada, and Australia. Well, hold on a second though, because we have literally seen double standards already, so I don't really think that's too accurate. For example, going back to the situation I mentioned in Japan, where they went after a dating site. So you're telling me they will go after a dating site for otakus that wasn't even like, it wasn't like an R34 site. It was a dating site.
This makes me chuckle so hard knowing Visa MasterCard lets you buy worse stuff elsewhere. Gee, I wonder how many weed purchases happened on a Visa or a MasterCard.
So otaku dating site, oh no, that's too far. That's not okay. But meanwhile, they're totally fine supporting transactions on like OnlyFans, for example.
Oh, wait, so you're telling me I can't play no video game with big honkers, but I can go give money to E-Horse? What kind of hypocrisy is this, boys? Are we allowed to goon or not allowed to goon? What gives here?
Which is just filled with explicit R34 adult material.
I wonder, how many OnlyFans, what's the word? How many OnlyFans girls are somehow or another connected to people who work at Visa or MasterCard? Maybe they're just trying to divert all the gooners to the OnlyFans. That way they make more money. Maybe? Conspiracy much?
So this whole like excuse about they need to be conservative, I don't buy it. Like, no.
Companies do not need to be conservative or liberal. They will do whatever it takes to make money.
I don't think so.
Remember about Ford? Back in the 1930s, 1940s?
Continuing though, let's see what else this person says.
Disney? Disney too?
The UK, Canada, and Australia always have been a bit reluctant about sexual themes,
I wonder, probably because all the governments are pretty paused.
especially when it's fetishy. But right now, the West is on a trajectory to completely ban porn.
Based!
See the USA, UK, France, Germany, and the rest of the EU. It's a chilling effect that in turn makes payment processors
Okay, maybe you guys might disagree, but I 100% think something like that should be banned.
act conservative because they want to fully comply with every government. So as much as some people want to believe that banks hold the true power of countries due to the crushing debt, the country can still decide to do their own payment processing system, which the EU is also planning right now. However, the OP also needs to be corrected. The removal of incest-themed games, has actually nothing to do with this, but everything with the UK and Australia.
I wonder if they're going to ban you purchasing the Coffin of Andy and Laylee.
This guideline is in there now because MasterCard/Visa has been pressuring all their partners to not just remove porn, but nudity because of the shifting situation in the West. Mortal Online 2, for example, has zero sexual content, but they had to remove nudity because of the payment processors.
Bruh. So okay, that's just an absolute L. Would rather it happen in virtual space or real life? Maybe that's the question, and we need to ask them.
About discriminating the Japanese. You will see this happening to Cyberpunk and Witcher 2, which will have to retroactively censored within 2 years or be pulled from Steam, because after those 2 years, the EU will heavily enforce the new provisions in the DSA, which will basically be the end of mature themes on the internet and for entertainment media.
I don't disagree with ending mature themes whatsoever. Like, it's one thing to completely ban, like, porn and gooner games. It's another thing to completely censor other games, which aren't even remotely about those heavy mature topics.
I don't know.
I think it's
someone else's sources. There's no proposal that would lead to a complete porn ban in Germany that I know of, so I heavily doubt the rest of your...
No. It's going to become Sharia law in Germany, unless we make Germany great again.
Post. Response saying, he talks about the age verification thing. That's a new system. That a new system is planned with ID, license.
I did hear about this. I think Muduhar talked about this, where they want to use ID to be able to, and like things like face recognition, to allegedly protect kids from accessing certain sites. But we all know that the government is just going to abuse the hell out of this.
Or face recognition, which aims to protect children, lol, but is more likely to be more likely about a step-by-step control over users, just like China already has.
Yep.
Weird to think it's about banning porn. Yeah, so that comment...
It was never about the gooning. It was always about a control.
Is more along the lines of what I'm thinking. I think the going after, as mentioned, I'm repeating myself.
The more control the government has, the less power you have to fight them when they become corrupt. And this is why I am very much a Second Amendment enjoyer, even though I don't have such a right here in South Africa, but we can't buy firearms. A firearm is a citizen's last line of defense against a corrupt government. Just saying.
Now, but yeah, I think going after certain types of adult material is really just a guise for them to test just how much control they currently have, and I think it's reasonable to expect that they're projecting to have far more control in the future, and they're going to keep testing to see if they can get away with such things. And again, I think there's probably some politicians behind the scenes who are heavily in favor of this stuff too.
Just curious.
It's just people who like to have control and power over others can use this sort of thing to facilitate them having more power and control over others. Guess what? A lot of politicians fit that bill. A lot of corpos fit that bill.
Yep.
Seems like they would have a great partnership together in this sort of thing.
Exactly what I was saying earlier. They embed with them politicians.
Doesn't it? Of course, that would be bad for all of us. I'm going to leave it there, though. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in.
Absolutely.
Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed my coverage. Appreciate you.
Sorry, you can't donate in this country or
region
yet.
In the next one.
Yeah, it sucks to be in South Africa. Anyways, oh geez, why do I keep seeing Kershaw railing the Steam? Why is this thumbnail? Every single video I've watched in like the last 2 or 3 days, it's always Kershaw in bed with Steam. These boys. Alright, let me paste that in. Le paste.